Hello everyone, Bruffy1322 here and welcome to the brand new Los Santos Grand Prix circuit. Obviously this has been my most successful track from previous gen. A lot of you will probably already know it, and it also spawned obviously the Rockstar verified track, the Los Santos GP in a loop. But it's been given a makeover for next gen. So as you can see, we have the full 30 car grid. It's spread out as much as is possible. Just to keep the incidents to a minimum at the start. And it starts in very much the same way as the old gen version. The layout of it is very similar. So the difference is in the way that it's made, and you can see that with the barrier there and a barrier on the right there. It's made with a slightly different philosophy than the old one was. Now the old one was kind of getting a little bit outdated. So again, you know, this is the same. We come around here, but there's a tyre stack around that lamppost. Now I'll explain about that in a little bit, but there's just another one there. So you're starting to see a few differences with that. We've got cones on the left there, just to use the dynamic props better. And it comes around the same as we always known it. So this is exactly the same as it was before. We go through the tunnel, and instead of going out of the tunnel and straight on, you actually now turn right. So as you can see, yeah, there's dividing lines across there. So you'll be seeing cars at different points on the track, as is sort of always the case with LSGP. And instead of going straight on, obviously you turn right and you come up through here. Again, there's a barrier on the inside there to stop you cutting across there. And you go along this long straight all the way down here. Quite a long section this bit, but it's nice and wide, and you can certainly get a lot of cars through. Then you have a heavy braking at this point, and you get a nice left turn into this section. Barrier on the left to stop you cutting the corner too much, and then there's a tyre stack there around that lamppost. Again, I'll explain about that later on. So then you come through here and go left, and then you end up back in the area where we know where the chicane used to be, and you turn right, and we're basically going back along this section the opposite way to the way we used to do it. Then you come through here and take a left here, again dividing barriers across there, and this is where you take the right and meet up with cars that are turning right out of the tunnel. You take a right out of here, which is quite an interesting corner because there's a bit of camber on it, and then you come along here and do the hairpin that we're all used to back through this section. And at this point, the track is very much the same as what it used to be. So the main changes are in that upper section. Now the reason for that is because I wanted to remove the crossover. Now the crossover was always a problem for endurance races or longer races, where you had a lot of different people. You always had to be wary of the crossover. It wasn't really the best thing to do for a serious racing circuit. So yeah, I've decided to remove that, and I think it does flow a lot better the way we have it now. So you do the fast right-hander section again through the newspaper offices, and this time there is a barrier just there on the exit, so you do have to stick to the road. Then as you go past that section, you actually have to make sure that you realise you're not turning down the slip road that we used to. You're doing a proper turn here, and you can carry the speed out wide, but that is now a proper turn, and it does make it a little bit more interesting, that section. You come down here again, take a left as you normally would, and then as I mentioned in a previous video, we now do the bit that where we had the lower loop. So you take a right here instead of taking a left, all the way down to the end here, around the hairpin, and then back up all the way along the start-finish straight. Now the start-finish straight is a lot longer now. It's certainly a lot more time on the start-finish straight, and yeah, it does make the track a bit longer. So I think with the turbo, you're probably looking at about a 2-minute lap. I guess on a hot lap we might see under 2 minutes with a Zentorno when the turbo is back working again. Now we also do have the pit lane that's sort of survived from the endurance race, but it isn't quite as detailed as it was before. I would have preferred a few more props. You know, 100 is good, but I would have preferred 150 or 200 just to sort of finish it off nicely. But yeah, there's basically been two different philosophies with creating this track, and it's kind of one of them is to stop the issues as much as possible when it comes to incidents, so knocking over lampposts and things like that. Now that's what we've got here. As you can see, this barrier is covering that lamppost. Now that lamppost was always a problem. People would hit that down at the start of a race, or if they'd go for the gap there, which was possible, they would knock it over. That was always a problem, so it's best just to get rid of it and cut that entire line off. And then the same there, that barrier stops that lamppost being knocked over. Again, that was a problem. But I also wanted to keep the overall feel of the circuit the same. Now, Los Santos GP was often a wide flowing circuit. It had a lot of space, and I wanted to keep that the same as it used to be. So that's what these tyre stacks do. Now, the tyre stacks are a hell of a lot better on next gen than they used to be on old gen. They don't break up anymore. So basically, if you hit that tyre stack there is no way that that lamppost is going to be knocked over. But the benefit of having a tyre stack there rather than having a barrier going across is that it opens up all 3 lanes. You can still use that outside lane on the pavement to, it creates more space in that area. If there's 3 cars going along there, you're not going to be restricting the track and throttling the track too much to the point where it's far too tight to do anything. So that's what that tyre stack's for there, and you'll notice that that's basically in the same place around a lot of the track. So as you can see here, I come out, I hit that tyre stack. Because the tyre stack's around the lamppost, it doesn't get knocked over, and the person who was following behind me isn't affected by that. He can take the outside line quite fine, and he isn't affected by me knocking over a lamppost or anything like that. Same thing there, you hit the tyre stack. That's my mistake, I made the mistake, but nobody else pays for that mistake other than myself. Now this is a good clip, it shows a good example of what I'm talking about. So we're coming on the right hand side here. Now as you can see there on the left, there's a tyre stack around that lamppost. Now you can go right around the outside of that if you want, it's up to you. It's probably a bit too risky to do it in a race, but you might find a bit of extra speed on a hot lap. But it also gives you a bit of room if you make a mistake and take too much speed through there. Now it also protects the lamppost. Same thing here. Now the best line usually is just around the outside of this lamppost, but a lot of the time what would happen is that lamppost would get knocked down. So the tyre stacks there stops the lamppost ever getting knocked down, but it allows those lines to still exist. And then the same thing here, that lamppost used to get knocked over quite a bit and cause issues for people behind. I've run into it there, that's my mistake, and I'm the one that's paid for it. Nobody else has. As you can see, the person who was behind me has managed to get straight past me because the lamppost wasn't knocked over, didn't cause any issues for him. So that's basically the philosophy that I've taken for this track. It allows the lines that you want to take and are sort of more risky, but you can take the option if you want, but it protects those lampposts from being knocked over and causing trouble to anybody else. Now one last little thing is that I've put on this section a lot of the tyre barriers on the right hand side there. Now that's the maximum that I could do based on the props that I had before, but all that does is basically stop the curb boosting on that section. That section does have a tiny little bit of a curb on that outside. It also protects that lamppost as well. But what you would find, if you got a move done on the inside, someone on the outside would just clip the curb and get a bit of an acceleration boost from it. So I've stopped that happening for that main sort of start phase of that section. By the time you get to the end, any move should be done at that point anyway. But it just stops that's the only part of the track really where I've put any barriers to actively stop curb boosting. Everything else is as open as possible, and any barriers that you see are to guide people around the track or to sort of cut off lampposts and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of the different philosophy that I've gone with this. It's very much the same track as the old gen version, but with having more props, we've been able to sort of improve our tracks obviously and make them better for racing. Now the benefit of this is that it keeps the track nice and wide and nice and open. If you make a mistake, you're the only one who's going to suffer from it, nobody else is, and it kind of helps you. It helps the racing. It helps the feel of sort of for an endurance championship, for example. It allows that space for people to overtake and the faster cars to get around the slower cars and things like that. It keeps it nice and open. It allows people to use the more sort of risky lines if they want to, but again, they are risky. It's probably not a good idea to use those lines in a racing situation, maybe in a hot lapping situation, but if you want to use them, the option is there. However, if you do get it wrong, you aren't going to be messing anybody else's race up. So if you get it wrong, it's your own fault and you're the one who is punished for it, nobody else is. And that's the whole philosophy that I've gone with this. create a better racing circuit, but make it so that if you do make a mistake, nobody else is punished for that. Now it also helps with lag as well. Obviously, as you probably all know, sometimes lampposts can get knocked over by people lagging out a little bit. A little bit of lag from the person in front. On his screen he doesn't knock over a lamppost, but on your screen he does. Having those tyre stacks there makes that not happen. So if they lag a little bit on your screen, they hit the lamppost, and they would just basically hit the tyre stack, so the lamppost wouldn't get knocked over. It doesn't affect them because they didn't see it anyway. It doesn't affect anybody else because the lamppost isn't knocked over, and that's just the way we go with this. So as you saw there, the better line around that corner, the quicker line was to go on the pavement and carry the speed through. Now that is a riskier line because you have to sort of get it through the gap, but that line is available. You can still use it. Obviously this footage is before I put the black tyre barriers there, and this is the whole reason why I did it. But yeah, that's kind of been the whole philosophy that I've done with this track. Just make it a better racing circuit for a lot of people, whilst keeping a nice flow to it and stopping mistakes ruining other people's races, basically. So yeah, this is now available on PS4. PS4 is my main console. I don't have an Xbox One, so this isn't available there. I will. I think that somebody else will probably be creating it, so I can let you know when that happens. But yeah, it is available on PS4 at this point. That is my main console, and that's where all of my tracks will be initially made and sort of tested and things like that. So yeah, the strength of this track is really the consecutive corners. There's a lot of consecutive corners here which allow you to line up moves many times in advance. For example, this whole section that we're about to see here, it's an interesting section because it allows different lines through it. It allows defensive lines, it allows attacking lines. As you can see there, you can have good battles, and that's what I'm talking about with that. If someone knocks you to the side, or you make a mistake by taking too much speed through that section, you have an out. You have a way to go on the outside of that tyre barrier. It's probably not as good to do that because you might lose speed, or it's a bit more risky to do it. So if you don't really want to do it if you don't have to, but the option is there, and it doesn't restrict the track too much. If I'd put barriers there, the track would just be too restrictive and cause more problems than you're trying to solve, really. So that's why I've done that. And yeah, it's the consecutive corners like this one that make this track so good. You can get into a nice flow with it, and you can really sort of get some good overtaking moves done, and different cars will have different lines through the same corners. It makes it a lot more interesting that way. So yeah, I hope you all give the track a go. If you already had it added on PS3, then this will be still in your game on PS4. I've basically updated the same track. But if you are on PS4, have a look in the description, and there will be a link to this track where you can add it to your game and try it out. Again, it is for the full 30 people, but yeah, you do have to be a bit more careful when you have a lot of people going into the first two corners. So yeah, when I was creating this track, I definitely thought a lot more about our experiences with the original and the Multiclass Endurance Championship, and the kind of issues that we had there, and that has kind of made this track what it is. I could have done with some more props, just to finish it off a little bit, to clean it up a little bit more, sort of have some more tyre barriers on that long straight section, and possibly have make the pit lane a bit more sort of expanded a little bit. But yeah, for what we have, I think I've done the best I can, and with it being a long track as well, 100 props does get used up quite a lot. So yeah, go and try it out. The link's all in the description. I'd really like to hear what you think about it as well. Leave all your comments down below. Yeah, and let me know what you think about it. It's certainly a lot better than the old Los Santos GP in my opinion, but I'd like to hear what you guys think as well. So thanks a lot for watching, everyone. I really do appreciate it. Be sure to check the links in the description, and I'll see you next time.